In this video, I'm going to show you how to use render styles in Cartoon Animator to unify the colors of props that you get in the marketplace so that they all look like they belong together when you combine them into your scenes. So here we are in Cartoon Animator, and this is on the screen the opening scene that I used in my recent Halloween animation called One More Try. And this scene, if you haven't seen that animation yet on my YouTube channel, then I would encourage you to sort of have a look at how that turned out before we get into this particular tutorial. It's not critical, but it just should be interesting for you just to see how this scene was used in the final animation. But now, this scene itself in Cartoon Animator was completely made up of prop purchased in the Reallusion marketplace. See in the scene editor window here, got a number of props in here, and it's from all different developers. And if we look at the 3D view here and just zoom out a bit, you can see the different levels with how it's set up and the depth and whatever we've got there. But what I wanted to show you with this particular tutorial is how I brought all of this stuff together so that it looks like a cohesive environment. It looks like something that I almost could have purchased from the marketplace, made completely by one artist instead of maybe 5 or 10 artists it's actually made from. And if you want to get a list of the actual developers that I used, they are all listed in the credits of my animation as well, if you want to check those out. But what I'm going to do is show you what this background would look like before I color coordinate it all. So what I'm going to do is set this back to all its normal colors, and then I'm going to show you how I brought it all together. So this is what the scene looks like before I've done all the recoloring of the props. This is their default color schemes, and I think you'll agree it doesn't look nearly as coordinated as what it did in the final outcome. In this particular set, I've also turned off my shading and light, so we've got added in a shadow. Just see it's got a darker shadow around it because the scene is at night time, and I've also turned off a street light, which you can see just a bit of that glow along this edge here. That's the light coming from this street lamp just here. I've turned those off so you can see more dramatically how different all the props are. Normally I would be changing these color schemes as I go, testing things out, seeing what works and what doesn't. I wouldn't do the whole scene and then start this. But for the sake of this particular tutorial, I'm just taking this scene and showing you how I do the colors so that these things are all matched and you don't have to go through however long it took me to actually construct the scene itself. So all the color grading or color adjustments are done through the render styles menu, which is this palette here. Put that down there, so it's a little bit out the way. Render Styles is a legacy tool from Cartoon Animator 2, or the then, as it was known, Crazy Talk Animator 2. And it was originally for recoloring flash-based props, which were vector-based props, but it could also do bitmap prop in a more limited way with these particular settings here that you've got brightness, contrast, hue, and saturation. This side here with the groups was for vector shapes and stuff. Obviously, with the new SVG tools of Cartoon Animator 5, this tool no longer works with vectors, and you use the SVG color tool over here for those. It's still very good for bitmap-based props and getting them all to work together. So just to show you how this works, I'm going to take this brick wall here and see that's a separate prop from this background. If I show you this, you can see these are pieces of a wall put together, and this is just like a reinforcing block to strengthen the wall. And all you do to adjust this is to start messing around with things like the brightness. Obviously we can turn the brightness up, down, or we can mess around with the contrast till it matches the wall. We can even change the color itself, and we can choose whether we want it to be oversaturated or completely grayscale. Let's reset that. And this can be a bit of a slow process. It tends to be a little laggy the bigger and more detailed the prop, and you can actually adjust multiple props with it at the same time. So just to quickly adjust the wall reinforcement thing here, obviously it's pretty close to that color already, so the easiest thing to just try messing around with is messing around with the brightness. You can see there comes a point where it's getting too bright, so you just want to get it looking about the same. Obviously it's too colorful compared to that, so we might adjust the saturation and take some of the color out. See what that does. You can see already that's now pretty close to matching the wall. You can see if we go too far it starts to look more grey. There we go, that's pretty close, and I'm pretty happy with that. Next thing we can do, because this is a night scene, you wouldn't see all these trees and bushes and stuff being this bright and this green. So what I did was I dulled down these particular props. So again, we sort of reduced the saturation just a little bit maybe, just so that they're not as bright. I think that was pretty much all I did. Now there's two ways you could go about matching everything up. You could either just select these things one at a time, apply the same sort of adjustment to it, or you've got this tool up here which will apply the render style of the selected item, which in this case is this tree here, and you'll see the cursor here turning into a bucket, a little pour bucket, and just click on other props and you'll see they'll take on the style of the prop that we have selected. But in this particular situation, possibly the easier way to go is to simply multi-select objects. So it's tree, and I'll select this other tree here. Open up the render style window and just apply my render style. Simply just minus 29 on the saturation. You can see both trees are now have that style. And some of the other things I did was for the background here. You can see it's a daytime background. Well, I wanted a nighttime, so we just bring the background or brightness down. And we've got some buildings over here, and I think we've got some over here too. Buildings there. Buildings there. Bring the brightness down on those. And this thing here, which is green, that I want it to be brown, so I can change the color on that if I wanted to. Let's mess around with the brightness and the contrast. Use the saturation. Starts to look more brown. Anyway, I'm going to return this back to the original scene that it was. That's generally how you go about playing around with render styles to match all your props. Obviously adding this shadow really helps, and then putting the light helps combine the scene too. So I'll just reload the final scene again so you can see what it ended up looking like. I use render style all the time in creating my backgrounds, particularly when I'm trying to match together lots of props that I've bought from the marketplace from different developers. So I hope you found this video useful. As you can see, render styles really is invaluable when it comes to combining the props from many different Reallusion developers into your scenes. It really helps make your scenes look more cohesive and like everything belongs together. So that's it for this video. Again, I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.